All right, here we are, Tuesday night, Tuesday evening, working on my Irish project. This is, of course, is Tony Aguilar. You guys would know that because otherwise, what channel would you be on? Gonna do a little bit of painting, and right now I'm working on my Irish project. The fourth stand of my skirmishers, my Saloy for my DVA army, and I had already added the base material, which is the Liquitex resin sand, and we put some rocks in there, and we have painted it overall with the chocolate brown color from Meadow. So we've already done that. That's what we did this morning, and we got to let it dry. This is one of the few things I actually have to do a drying stage is when I do that. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. So this is a 3-color process that I use. And actually, we might have to do a little bit of touch-up, okay, because it looks like some of the little bubbles popped. So we're going to go back to adding the chocolate brown. We don't have to do a whole lot. I'm going to go ahead and put these paints away. We don't want them here in the way. And I'll go ahead and pull out the other 2 colors as well. And show you what colors I use for the basing for these models for just the standard European look on them. So I know after I'm working on a project, I have to declutter and get rid of all these extra paints that just kind of come up out here and encroach on my area. But we'll do that, and then we'll pull out the other colors. So we got chocolate brown is the base color that I use. Get rid of these rocks too. This is very informal. So anyhow, if you guys come on here, feel free to chime in, and hey, maybe you'll see something. But I'm doing the basing technique here. And this is chocolate brown is the main color I use. And then the color on top of that, let me find it here. It's probably this one down here at the bottom. That's right, US Field Drab is the middle tone. And then for the light one, this color called Iraqi Sand. And I've got to find it. And it gets difficult to find sometimes because it is, I've used it so many times that the label's kind of worn off of it. It's this one right here. This is the 3 colors that I use. Okay. The chocolate brown, the US Field Drab, and the Iraqi Sand. Okay. And I don't do much dry brushing, but this will involve dry brushing. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back. We painted these this morning, and it took an inordinate amount of time just to paint the brown because you don't want to miss a spot. You want to make sure that you get around the basing everywhere you are. So now I use, as you guys are probably familiar with, Litco stands, and they're magnetized. There's actually 2 strengths of the magnets. There's the standard strength and then what they call the heavy duty. The heavy duties came out. Litco stands was already around before I started doing DVA stuff in 2004. But the heavy duty ones didn't come out until around 2012, something like that. And they're a little bit stronger. So what I do is I've got one of these knives that you would use to like clean off windows, which I don't really use it for much. But it's a handy holder since it is magnetized. It allows the figures to hold on there. So it allows me to move the figure around and not, if I'm painting the edge of the stand, not get paint on my fingers, which I don't like to make a mess. I'm a little anal retentive when it comes to that, but I like to paint and not make a mess while I'm painting. I mean, I'm using a tiny brush. Why am I getting paint on myself, right? Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and, I guess I am gonna need to use this. And let's see, do we have any of this color left? Yeah, this is just the chocolate brown, straight chocolate brown. I don't mind using craft paints like the apple barrel paints or anything cheap like that for if I'm doing terrain. If I'm painting one of these things, this is another thing here. And this is just a little barrier wall for our driving game. This is just MDF. Okay, and I painted it up. I think it turned out pretty nice. This was all done with craft paints. Well, this is a big area. I don't want to use, I don't want to sit there and use my Vallejo paints when I'm doing something this big, so I'll use craft paints. But for the basing, I do use Vallejo because I want a good coverage and I don't want any issues. So I do that. So yeah, so we'll go with that. Okay, so we've got Greg Kelleher. Hi, Tony. This should prove to be a very useful tutorial. I used this technique yesterday for my Pyrrhic, Saloy, and fast auxilia elements. Okay, so Greg in Australia is building a Pyrrhic army, and he is painting what I like to call the boring elements first. Yeah, you don't go into Pyrrhus's army and start painting Pyrrhus, right? You got to do him last. You got to earn it. So yeah, so all I'm doing at this point is this is for my temperate climate. I'm using the chocolate brown. I actually wasn't planning on doing this because I did this morning and some, not last night because we had a game night, but I'm just going to just touch up any areas that might have been where the paint might have popped, because we don't want a recessed area that is devoid of color, okay? Because we'll end up dry brushing over it, but the dry brushing isn't going to get into any of these areas. So this should not take long at all. We're just going to do some touch up here because there's no washing involved in what I do for the basing. It is dry brushing, or almost like a wet dry brush. Okay, so this one's done. Okay, they don't need much. Generally, I don't even have to do this stage. It just so happened. I would normally use it straight out of the bottle for the base process, which of course means when I'm doing the basing, I'm going to do, I use more paint than when I'm actually painting a figure. But I add some water to it, and what happens is when that water pops, you get the little things. But I know I could probably add something to it to keep that from happening, but it's not that big a deal. It's not worth my time. So I don't want to add a ton more steps if I don't have to. Somebody even suggested on one of my comments I could probably mix the paint in with this basing material and already have it look like this. But this basing material is naturally like a semi-gloss or almost a gloss, and I'd hate to have a glossy base because these guys are totally varnished already, the figures. I'm not going to add more varnish to them. So the base does not get any varnishing on it. Again, I don't want to add more steps to my long process as it already is. So we're just doing some final touch up. See, this one's done too. And this is the army I just finished doing, my Carage. They're desert, of course. They used 3 different colors. Now, why did I pick these 3 colors? Well, I'll be honest with you. I went to the Flames of War site. They have a lot of really good, useful things, and there were some color combinations that people had done the basing and dry brushed in like a set of 3 different colors, and I happened to like one of them, and I kind of rolled with it. That's how I got this color combination. Same thing for the desert, and I've been happy with it. That's the only reason I picked those 3. I didn't want to get something that ended up making the figures look very gray, or I didn't like the basing. That's the only reason I went with it. They've got even though I don't play Flames of War, they've got some really useful stuff on there. You know, just because you don't use something, just because you don't do a scale or a type of figure, doesn't mean you can't use their resources. There's a lot of really good painting ideas on people that sell 28mm figures. I don't do 28mm figures, but that doesn't mean I can't implement some of the like shield designs or something like that to 15mm scale. So who's to say that they're not doing the same thing, you know? So you can get ideas from all kinds of sources. So this is the last one here. And I used to leave the edge of my stands in this color. but I've reverted to, well, I now do black edging. I just happen to like how it looks. But I still end up painting the edges with this brown color for as an initial coat. All right. And I think we're about done with this. Okay. Rinse this thing out, and then we're getting to the messiest stuff I do, which is dry brushing. As you can see, I have my cutting mat that God forbid I get any paint on it because it's distracting. But I use these back of the cardboard that comes in the back of like pads of paper or something like that. I always reuse these things. And here is the area that I will dry brush on. Because usually from regular painting, I won't get any of it. Any of this paint and stuff, it's because I did dry brushing on it. So here we got desert colors here, so we're going to do the same thing with this. Okay, so let's pick up a stand, all right, and then we're going to go and we're going to put some of this field drab. Now, it's been such a long time since I've done it, I don't remember exactly how I did it. I don't think I put it directly on here. I think I still use the wet palette, which unfortunately takes up more space than I wish it did, because they make an even bigger wet palette. I couldn't imagine that. That's unnecessary. So let's, you guys can see that. We're going to use this little spot here to put some of this stuff down. Okay, and this is Vallejo US Field Drab. Okay, I don't really care how watery it is. Now we're going to go, remember those brushes that are no good anymore? So we're going to grab one of them because we're going to abuse this to a certain degree here. Okay, this is not a pretty brush. It's not horrible, but it's got some little pieces that are already coming off of it. This is going to be a dry brush. Okay. Paul Eagles, welcome. Tony, how do you keep your fingers so clean? I look like a leopard after I've been painting. Yeah, you want me to get pissed off? Let me make a mess while I'm doing this. Like house painting. I can't stand house painting. Like I won't paint roofs because there's no way ceilings. There's no way you can paint a ceiling and not get paint on you, no matter how careful you are. Yeah, the only time I ever get paint on my fingers is if I'm doing like initially like slopping on paint for the primering. Normally, I don't ever get paint on me. I don't know why, it just kind of happens. Okay, so we're going to take, we just took some of this paint here and we're just going to put it out here. Get some of it off, standard dry brush procedure, and just dry brush around, okay? And I do let some go on the rocks. I don't want to cover the rock color, but this is the actual rock. It's an actual piece of rock. I got these little samples from something we ended up not using, but we had a vendor for, I work at a concrete plant, and this is actual black granite. So it's tiny little bits of granite so you can see if they could, use your product or whatever. They had these samples and no use for it, and boom. It's like, so I've got actual granite on the stands. Now, I don't know if there's actually granite in Ireland. I don't care. I think it looks pretty good for rocks, but, we'll dry brush them a little bit. But, yeah, see, this is the problem, is this dries immediately on this cardboard, but that's okay. I'm not really using that much paint. Let's see. I've got to put my glasses on and off to see if there's any questions here. Perhaps he licks his brushes as opposed to his fingers. There you go. What's the base size? Hey, Todd, how you doing? Base size, these are 40 by 20s. This is skirmisher stands. I'm trying to get in the habit of saying skirmisher instead of Saloy because it's kind of silly, because these are not Greeks. These are Irish. So these are 40 millimeter by 20. And Yeah, we're just doing a little bit of dry brushing here. We don't want to get too close to where the figure's feet are because we don't want this to come up on the figure. And we're just going to do just kind of a light thing, and we're going to get in there a little bit more. Each layer that this takes a little bit less time. So just painting everything the standard chocolate brown, I swear it took forever. It must have taken me like, I mean, it looks like it's something simple, okay? But it took me probably maybe 30 minutes to paint just the base brown because I wanted to get everywhere in there, and I wanted to take my time. You know, you don't want to rush this stage and end up painting over the figure that you spent 4 hours painting. Well, these were a little bit quicker. They're not really wearing too many things. They're wearing that the long shirt, which someone said it was called a Lina. Anyways, it's an Irish thing. So yeah, okay, hold on, we got another one. Todd says, is your table really high or are you bending over? That's an excellent question. Okay, so when I bought this painting table, one of the requirements was I wanted to get a table that went as high as it could go and a seat that could go as low as it could go. So I could be sitting as erect, no jokes now. So I could be sitting as erect as possible so that I don't hurt my back. Okay. And what I have, and I'm meaning to do this, I think when the girls are away, I'm going to do a video, just kind of what my painting setup here. I went to IKEA and I bought it's just a simple, almost like an A-frame, no frills desk. And it's jacked up it's probably every bit of 40 inches. And my chair is down about 18 or 20. So no, I'm sitting pretty much upright. If I had to bend over, it'd be uncomfortable. So usually what happens is I have to stop a painting session when my butt gets tired. Honestly, that's the only part. But no, I'm really comfortable as far as that goes. But that was one of the things I was looking for, is a lot. I didn't want to do the whole hunched over thing. Because I've done that. That's the setup that I had before. I had an old computer desk that I was painting on, and that just didn't work out for me because it was, it was bad on my back and neck, and I don't have back and neck issues. So, when you don't have pain in certain parts of your body, and all of a sudden you get them, you're doing something wrong. So, and it was really inexpensive. It was like $90 or $80 or something like that for the table, and it's very strong. And yeah, I'll have to do a video of my little painting setup here. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I've been very successful with it. But yeah, I wanted a high difference between of course the chair is adjustable, but the table's adjustable too. It's got legs that you can screw up or down. You literally have to do it manually. It's not going to accidentally come down on its own, but this is as high as it'll go. So I have it jacked up as high as possible. So yeah, that is on my to-do list, is a little kind of, what my setup is. I've seen other people do setups for their painting areas, and holy crap, they're elaborate. I mean, I have my own room basically to myself, but I'd probably need it's twice as much space for that. But that's just too much area. I'd need more of these lights, because that's really the most important thing is lighting. At least for me, is using this light right here, and all it is a 24 water, and yeah, that makes a big difference. I was using a drafting light that my dad probably had from the 1960s, and it died on me 10 years ago, maybe. I used it forever growing up. I started painting probably when I was like 14 or 15, and used that same light until 10 years ago. What would it have been? Almost 40. I'd use the same light. I never had to change a light bulb. I don't know what it was. They made stuff differently back then. It never went bad, but eventually it crapped out. And then I've heard about these lights and was sold on it. Okay, so we've got about as far as we're going to go on this guy with this one shade, with this one dry brush, it looks like crap right now, to be honest with you. To me, I know there's more coming. I'd be probably discouraged if this was my first time doing this. Okay. This is what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like now. See if I can get this. Okay, and what it's going to end up looking, let me get one of these Russian skirmishers, is something like this. So it's on its way. It's a slow process, but... And you know how I paint one figure at a time. Well, I don't base one thing at a time, so we're going to do the same process with the next stand. When I finished my last army, which was my Courage, my desert guys, I had four. The last batch I did was 4 stands of knights, or as I like to call them, they're impetuous cavalry, because calling those Middle Eastern guys knights is just wrong on so many levels. But they're impetuous. They behave like knights. That's why they're considered knights in DBA. But anyhow, I had 4 stands of those guys to do. And just the process of painting, like I had already put the goop down. That's what I call it, this basing material. Just the process of painting the 3 layers and put the grass took 4 hours. It took like an hour for each stand. But you know, I did them in stages, just like I'm doing here. So it's not fast, but you know, if you do it right, you never have to do it again. You know, they don't magically unpaint themselves. So do it right the first time. Yeah, and sometimes like I'm doing now, I just let go of that because I need a little bit more maneuverability to be able to see underneath the... Look, I got too much on there. No problem. You won't even be able to tell later. And if you make some goof ups, the little grass that you're going to put around there, that'll take care of that problem. So don't fret too much. The main focus of this is make sure you don't get this stuff on your figure, because all that time you spent on the figure was just wasted. All right, what's this bottle doing over here? Okay, for those of you that haven't watched, I actually have a basing tutorial video on this YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel. It's earlier last year, and it describes how I go through that all, but this is the product I'm using. It's Liquitex resin sand, and it comes pre-mixed. Almost out of this one. I'll show you guys what it looks like. It's yeah, it's really easy to work. It's really easy to work with. It dries semi-clear. It runs somewhere between $11 to $15 for, what is this? 8 ounces. This looks like a lot more than 8 ounces. This lasts forever. Well, I mean, you could do a lot of stuff with this. So, used to be available in Michael's. That's why I came up with it. I saw this. I'm like, let me give that a shot, and I loved it. When I first started basing stuff, I didn't use that. I mixed my own natural sand that I just grabbed from wherever, and I think from the plant probably, and then mixed Elmer's glue in with it. But this has more. It's more granular. It has more 3D to it. The other one's smoother. But my first 4 or 5 or 6 armies are based the old way. So that's kind of the conundrum. I want to expand them into 3.0 because a couple of them are not 3.0 compatible. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to rebase them, or just have stands that don't look different, that look different basing wise. So what did I do? I moved on and did other armies instead. But if I had to go back them again, I'd rebase them. I've rebased some figures and was able. Now I'm using epoxy to glue these guys down. Okay, but even with epoxy, I can chip away at this stuff with an X-Acto knife, get the X-Acto knife underneath the figure, pry it up, no damage to the figure, reuse them, pop them on another one, and even reuse the same stand. So that's not an issue. If I got to do that again, I should do a tutorial on that as well, because that was pretty easy to do. It looks like it would be super daunting, but it wasn't. I needed to rebase my French ordonnance, and yeah, that's how I was able to do that. I was even able to salvage the same stands. So I had to rebase them because I had initially based the dismounted figures 3 to a stand so they would match the riders. There were dismounted knights that I wanted them to look the same as the riders. And I had to redo the army anyways to make it 3.0 compatible. And at that point, I'm like, nah, I want to redo the figures. So it wasn't a big deal. It actually didn't take much time at all. Didn't booger up any of the figures either. I was expecting that to happen, but just getting underneath here. Yeah, and I want some of this color up on the top of the rocks because that's just, could just be weathered by the dirt and stuff that's in here. Because not only is this dirt, but this is like the dust and crap in here. I'm not trying to be too scientific about it. It kind of happened, I wanted the rocks to have some of the color that is on the base so that they get tied together to it, not just like, somebody threw these rocks on the top and, you're not picking up rocks at Home Depot, I mean, they're naturally there. That's at least the look I'm trying to intend on doing. So that's 2 down. This is the guy that's done. Okay, cool. Yeah, the Irish Army with hardly any green. That was an interesting area there. Okay, let's see. There is Paul Eagles. There is Granite and Mourne and Wicklow. Okay, I guess those are places in Ireland. Yeah, perfect. That's great. That helps the tie-in too. There's no granite, and you know what? Where I live in Florida, this is the only granite there is. In this little container, there's no granite in Florida. It's all limestone and sand. But let's see. Okay, that's cool about your table. I've lowered my chair as much as possible. Yeah, I should probably raise my table a bit. Yeah, if you can. I try to sit up as upright as I can. It makes a big difference. Are my stands magnetized? Yes, they are. They are Litco stands with the heavy duty Litco magnets. They originally only made one kind of magnetization, but now they make a heavy duty one. They're a little bit thicker. I just go with a heavy duty one because we can put them on the guys on the refrigerator if you want to. I don't, but because what I carry them in is I carry them in like a baking tray when I go from place to place. So and they do not slide. So we've got to protect your investment for sure. So. Paul Eagles, Tony late in the UK now and almost cool enough to sleep. We don't have AC, so I bid you oh no. A good night. Granted is okay. See above. Thanks to you and Mitch for all the entertainment. Well, thanks for watching, Paul. No AC. Yeah, no. No, I'm out. I have air conditioning and have fans going all the time. And as a matter of fact, I got fans going on even in the wintertime. The part of Florida I'm in, it'll get into the teens a couple of days a year. I wish it happened more often, but I don't want that snow and stuff you got to shovel, but I like wintertime. I like cold weather, but I don't want to shovel any of it. But yeah, last night we came over and got home probably about 10 o'clock from our gaming session, and it was probably 82 to 84 degrees, over 60% humidity, and just the bugs were just loving it. I'm like, it's miserable here in the summertime, especially at night. In the daytime, I can handle it being hot, but when you can't get away from it, even at nighttime, It sucks. But it's what, beginning of August? So we got maybe a month and a half more of hot nights, and then at least the nights won't be hot. So, yeah, I like the winter time. I call it free air conditioning. I don't run the heater at all. Try not to. Woke up one day, it was 53 in a house. You know how much you got to pay an air conditioning bill to get down to 53? And it's free. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen too well. So even with all the humidity that we have here, I know people have said have had horror stories with varnishing their figures, and they get all dulled or something like that. I've never had that experience. And I've lived in Florida my whole life, and I've sprayed outside. I don't know what it is. People say that it's just too humid or whatever, and it affects the spray. You know, the spray varnish that you do at the end. I've never had that happen ever. And I spray in the garage I've sprayed in the garage with a garage door opener and like a thunderstorm outside. So I don't think it could get any more humid, but never had an issue with it. So fortunately. So we're just getting close to the feet. There's not that much paint on them. Is this number 3? This is number 3. All right, one more to go. And then we go to the next color. Iced coffee. That's how things get done. Liquid motivation. Okay. This guy here. Yeah, I wish I could paint a little earlier to get some of those people in Europe and the UK to chime in. I know that actually most of my viewers, according to the stats, are from the UK, so I know it's late there. So it's after midnight. And I'm not a night owl. I don't blame people for going to sleep. I'm usually done by 10:30, but I'm up at 5. So one of these days I'm gonna do an earlier paint thing. But somebody mentioned that they watched all of my videos over the weekend while they were painting, and that's excellent, because that's exactly what I've done with other people's painting videos. Just have stuff in the background you can look up from time to time, but just to kind of get in the spirit of it all. You know, it's hard to just sit there and just do this without any kind of distraction. So I'm glad it was useful for you. I've done that too. So what happens is, if there's so many things you can watch, like YouTube and stuff on your background on your phone, but what'll happen is I'll get distracted. I'll spend like, okay, I need to find something to watch while I'm painting. And next thing you know, you spent 40 minutes and you haven't started painting, and you still haven't found the perfect thing to watch while you're painting. And that was just a waste of time. So maybe this is filling somebody's void, or is helpful anyways. My ramblings. Or somebody else's. There's other people that do ramblings as well. So okay. So there we go. We got these 4 guys done with the base color and US Field Drab. All right, we're going to rinse our brush. I would say this is what I would call a detailed dry brush. So it's still a dry brush, but see, it's not in that bad a shape. I mean, it's not gray. It's got this little tuft cone off here to the side, but that's why it's been relegated. When they start misbehaving like that, I just move them into the guys that'll end up using for the base material, because this material is a slight bit abrasive. You don't want to use your really good brushes against it, because they'll end up getting all fanned out and stuff. So you don't want to ruin them that way. So John Blankley, welcome. Washing from Newcastle upon Tyne near Hadrian's Wall. Interesting. Right there in the border. The old border. Hadrian's Wall reminds me of a movie I saw the other day. I finally got my daughter to see Centurion, which I like the movie. Is it perfect? No. But it's a fun movie, you know, Hadrian's Wall. It ends there at Hadrian's Wall. If you guys haven't seen that, I think it's a pretty good movie. As far as movies go, you know, because movies, you know, there's something wrong with every movie, but it's much better than The Eagle. Let's put it that way. So, yeah, she enjoyed it. Okay, last coat. This is, you can't read it, but this is Iraqi Sand. Okay, and you can't read it because I've opened and closed this thing so many times. But this is the third top coat, the top coat color. All right, so we're gonna put some of that here. All right, move it back. Yeah, so I find this little cardboard stuff is infinitely useful, or as they call it out in the UK, card. I think, is this the same stuff that a lot of you guys base things off? Make your bases out of? I know that card is big in the UK. But yeah, I'm probably thicker than this. This would be very, very thin, but I know Mitch has some armies that are based on card that he's bought from other people. And they're a pain sometimes to try to get all the units to line up on them. I tell them all the time, you know, say, you need to get Litco stands. But yeah, that's what they came with, is his card on his armies. So, but I use this card a lot for, I could do the same thing. You could use the back of like a cereal box or something like that, or anything like that. But I've got these, and they work well for that. So we're just going to go in and do this final highlight. And see, we left this little granite gray. Okay, I don't know. Let me see if I can see. But it still has some dry brushing on top of it, so it kind of blended it all in. Now, there's some people that do this scenic stuff and literally will make it look realistic. I don't have it. I don't have 3 days to spend on this and make a diorama. Okay, so what I'm doing is good enough for me, and you know, it looks good at a distance, and it looks good close up. So that's good enough for me. There's a lot of guys. There's some really talented painters. A couple of them that I follow, and some of them, when they do the weathering and stuff on their vehicles, and we're talking like 1/72nd scale vehicles, they look better than the real vehicle. I mean, you pull a real vehicle next to them, it's like, it looks like crap. Their model one looks better. Yeah, it's not that kind of a thing. I like the one of these days I'm going to break down. I'm actually going to do some. I'm going to use my method of painting, and I'm going to put a black line on like the edges, on some of the color, like I've seen other people do. I'm just afraid of doing it and liking it a lot, and then wanting to do that on the rest of my figures, and then they don't match. But I do like that black lining because it reminds me of a comic book look. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean like a nice looking comic book where there's a hard edge dividing line between colors. I try to leave a little bit of that black line anyways, but this is like going after the fact and painting a thin black line between them. I'm afraid I'm gonna like that and then want to redo all my stuff. So I've kind of resisted doing that. Okay, now I don't want to get in between the legs here because I'm going to get some of this up on the side. So what we're going to do is there's going to be a second stage where I'm going to go with a smaller brush and wet it a little bit and get in there so that you've got some of this Iraqi sand color underneath there. Okay, but we're going to leave that for last. That doesn't take long because it's not a whole lot that I'm doing. But if I try to get in there some more, I'm going to invariably get some on the legs, and I don't really want to do that. If this was like a vehicle or something like that that had tires or something, I wouldn't mind doing it because then you could get some of that dust splash up on the leg on the vehicle, and it would look okay. but not on the legs, you know. So, and again, we're going to just do this. Stand number 2. More coffee. Just add coffee. And like I said earlier, this is just 3 colors that I selected off of. There are 3 colors that they showed an example of basing on the Flames of War website, which their website is, I think, outstanding. I don't care for the game, but their website is outstanding. So I guess it'd be similar to the DBA of World War II, but you know, I can be pretty tolerant of how abstract things are in DBA. But if you're going to play a World War II game, yeah, I'm that ultra realistic tread head rivet counter guy, you know. So that doesn't really cut it for me doing WW2 stuff. That's what I grew up doing, and I don't really game it anymore because I want the amount of detail that I want in a World War II game is just absurd, you know. But I can't play a Flames of War type game with World War II. But their website's awesome, and their figures look fine too. Their models and everything. But all my World War II stuff is in 20 millimeter scale. So since I use for skirmish and stuff, so that's the UK scale, because 20 mil is big in the UK, not so much here in the United States. But I got into that scale because I really liked one particular figure manufacturer. It was the old combat miniatures, which used to be several other different things before. But it was nice because you could just go up to the store and get 1/72nd scale vehicles. Just about every vehicle is available in that scale. 15s really weren't a thing back then for World War II stuff. So we're talking like mid 80s. Mid 80s? Late 80s. So I'm not sure they had any 15 millimeter World War II back then. 15 millimeter World War II, just, I want to say the first ones that started coming out was those packs that were made by, was it Old Glory for the command, they were packaged for Command Decision. And yeah, those are the first ones that I saw around the early 90s. But World War II had always been 20 millimeter, you know, or HO scale figures or any of that stuff. And obviously, you know, micro armor, other scales like that. But and I had micro armor as well. So okay, is this the last guy? No, we got one more dude to do. One more stand of lads. And this is just really mindless. Like I could have something in the background and it wouldn't distract me anymore. It's just totally mindless. Well, once you figure out what colors you're going to use, before that you're wondering, oh, is this going to work? I don't know. Let's put a little bit on there. I don't know. It's not looking like it's turned out really good. That's why I said, you know, go and, you know, that's a really good, useful resource is something like that, is a website that already shows examples of what figures are based using what colors, so you can see what they look like together. It's because especially with this with the basing is you're going to have some of the bottom colors shine through. So not only is the combination complementary to each other, but are they going to you don't want to get color zone. By the time you're done, it looks maybe the stands look very gray, and that's not what you wanted. So take a look at some examples if you're not happy with what method you use, and maybe try that. Maybe only do one stand. Maybe do a fake stand with no figures on it. Do several of them, and then you can see what the combination is before you commit to having figures on them. You know, hedge all your bets. All right. Yeah, this is about the only dry brushing I do. This, and I'll dry brush some on chainmail. That's it. I don't use dry brush for anything else. I don't use washes at all. Um, yeah, everything else is layered. So I did used to use washes a long time ago. Loved how they look when I put them on, and I'd go to sleep and wake up, and what the hell happened overnight? Everything pooled, and because this was before the internet, we didn't know about the whole dishwashing liquid, or whatever you do to break the surface tension. Um, so yeah, I kind of grew out of using washes to try to solve my issues. A little bit more on that rock to get it to pop out a little bit. Okay, yeah, like in between his legs down here, I can't really get in there. So we're going to do that in the next stage. So we're going to take our brush, we're going to go ahead and rinse him out. And bear it farewell. We don't need him for now. Okay. Now, doesn't really matter which one of these I grab. It's not a habit, I just grabbed the one I did first. Before we jump face first into this, let me make sure there's not any maintenance issues to do. There's no maintenance issues. Okay, and let's see. Okay. All right, one more sip and in we go. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the same Iraqi sand. We're gonna grab a different brush, one we got more control with, maybe this guy right here. All right, add some water. Let's move the water location. And mix up some of this, but don't put a whole lot of paint in there. Make it kind of watery. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go underneath the legs in these parts and just lightly, almost do like a thin, just really thin amount of paint to kind of blend everything together. Now, I'm not going to be able to show you what's happening here because it's 720. This is probably what you guys are seeing in 720, but maybe I can't. Hold on. Let's see what we can do here. Let's see what we can do, folks. Let's get this in the center, and then let's zoom in. Okay, let's try this. It's going to be real shaky. Okay. That shouldn't look half bad. I wish it was in 1080. I think that it's being filmed in more than 1080. It's just not showing up in 1080. So we're just doing a really thin here. And see if I can show you on this figure here. We're just gonna tie all of this stuff together. So it doesn't look like the dry brush ends and it's brown underneath. And I don't do this with the middle shade, I just do it with the final shade. Okay, because when I'm doing this, I'm still going to let the original shade show through. Okay, but I want to like tie in all of this because I don't want some coloration here, and then when you get close to the figure, it ends. I guess it kind of would work because technically underneath the legs would be in the shadow of this guy, but now I want this all tied in together. And sometimes I'll go like, oh, what happens if I put a little bit on a rock? So I do, you know, like here. Just kind of blend all this stuff together. It's very little paint. It's probably, I don't know, 1 to 4, maybe even less than that. Don't need to spend a whole lot of time on it, but just enough to where you're comfortable leaving it. Okay. All right, next guy. We're going to come in here, and it's not even that noticeable probably that it even needs that, but we're going to go in here like there's no dry brushing of this light color underneath him. So we're going to come in and just do just a light tie-in. Let's ditch this. Need some more maneuvering. Okay. This part doesn't take long at all. Okay, he's done. Next. More coffee. All right. Now, one of these rocks that I put on here, this one right here, this one ended up being a lighter colored rock than the rest of them. It just kind of happened. That wasn't intentional. It just kind of what happened. Okay. One more. Yeah, we need a little bit more paint than that. There we go. Again, this is mainly just to tie everything in. And it's a lot easier to do on these skirmishers or light horse than it is like on a solid blade stand or something like that. That you got a lot of figures on. Pretty easy to get in and around the feet of these guys. Okay, now I'm pretty comfortable with how this turned out. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and zoom out. I have to put my glasses on so I can see. See farther away. Okay, these are our 4 stands completed. Of course, they don't have grass on them. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and paint the edges black now. And the reason I'm going to do the edges black now, because what I've got left to do is I've got some, I've got grass I need to put on there, and I've also have some shrubbery I need to put on there. And I don't want to have all those things on the stand and then paint the edges where some of the fibers of the static grass can get on the edge of the stand, and the next thing you know, I've got some of that on there. So I want to go ahead and paint the base of the edges now. So obviously we're going to use this because you don't want to have black fingertips, or so let's go ahead and get our black. Now this is where I come in and I actually use the El Cheapo paint because I'm doing a fair amount of it, and there's no reason to use Vallejo paint on there for the edge of the stand, because if something's going to get scuffed up, it's going to be this black paint, and it'd be really easy to touch it up. Now, with that said, I haven't had any of this paint that I've had to do that on. Okay, I haven't had any Vallejo paint any craft paint that I've had to touch the edge of it off. But if I did, so all I'm going to do is grab this folk art acrylic paint, and it's just black, or in this case it's licorice. So I hate black licorice, but I don't mind black licorice paint. Okay, mix this up, and we're just going to put it right on this right here. For those of you who don't see me making a mess, we're going to make a mess. Now, this stuff is almost out. I probably should have stored it upside down. There we go. That's plenty. A big black turd of paint. All right, now we're going to wet our brush a little bit so we've got some applicability, but for the most part, we're gonna just apply this straight. So what works really well is if you have a magnetized stand, don't try to paint the edge of the stand like this. Stick it out past the edge of the stand. You guys might actually get to see have some paint on my fingers, believe it or not. I know it's hard to believe, but it is possible. All right, I don't mind about wasting this paint because this is $1 a bottle stuff. So what we're going to do is paint the edge of this. Okay, and just take them and turn them. You want to be careful that you don't go up the side of get onto the rocks on top, or you end up having to do touch-up. So nothing wrong with doing touch-up, but it slows you down. So I got better things to do than do touch-up. I'd rather do it right the first time. All right, and make sure you don't have any paint on your fingers before you turn them over. Next thing you know, you've just ruined your figure. Okay, there you have it. So we're going to leave this guy dry. Okay, move on to the next one. And that shouldn't take long for these guys to dry, but they're starting to look more like that. So I brought my Russians out here because my Russians are forest. I base them a tiny bit different than my normal guys. They're actually a forest army as well. So I'm going to follow a similar tuft and grass type. I actually have some flat edge brushes. Let's see if I can find one. Well, I can't freaking see, so that doesn't help. Here we go. Something like this. And it's actually more difficult to paint an edge with something like this than with just a round brush. So I don't really have much use for those square edge brushes. It just kind of came in the multi-pack of brushes. Okay, other side. None of this is difficult. It's just, kind of time. It's just time consuming. If I wasn't using this magnetized holder or some kind of a holder, what would be happening is I'd have to hold the figure, and it's getting scuffed up as I'm holding on to it and stuff like that. And I'd just rather not do that. Okay, he's done. Halfway there. Add a little bit more moisture. Right. This edge. Flip. And last turn. Yeah, the problem with getting paint on your fingers is then you can end up transferring onto something else you don't want to get painted. Whether it's another figure or maybe a shirt or I don't wear painting clothes. I'm not expecting Armageddon here. All right. Last one. So I didn't own the mounted figures for this army already. I had to order them, And I ordered them from someone I had not ordered from before. And I just found out today, they warned me, said, just so you know, it's been taking a while for our parcels to arrive. And of course, it's from the UK. That's where I always order the figures from, seems like. The land of toys, the United Kingdom. So, but I ordered them far enough in advance that I think that they'll arrive in time before I need them, because I still got I got the other 2 stands of Saloy to finish in this army. Then we're going to run into the Galoglich. We're going to do them next. And if they still haven't arrived then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on the Scots elements. I'm going to work on Eddie the Bruce's nightstand and some pike stands for his Scots that are one of the options for this army. And then certainly by the time that's done, the cavalry will arrive. So we can do an unboxing video with them and hit the ground running with them. So, okay, they're all done. So now what do I do? Well, what do I do right now is let's rinse this brush, and then we're going to go grab our grasses and just kind of figure out what colors I'm going to use. Now, I don't have an intense different kinds, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to cover that mess I made. And let's put all these brushes away, clear this area a little bit. Helps me think more than anything else, or helps me not get distracted. Let's put away these colors we used. All right. And the Iraqi Sand and the chocolate brown. And got a color hiding out over here. Light brown. That's not light brown. That's like light clay color. Or in the case of this army, one of the shades of redhead. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get our grasses. Now, I'm going to move this little table here, and hopefully something doesn't hit the ground. Like I said, this is kind of impromptu. This is not planned. Let me get the stuff we got going on. Way back when, and I'm talking like 2004, 2003, it was before I was doing DBA. 2004, 2003, something like that. I wanted to change up what I was using for base material. So I ended up buying, it was either a 4 or a 6-pack of different grasses from Flock and Turf Scenic Texture from Scenic Express. Okay. And it came with, I want to say it was 6. I could tell you, I could have them. But there's 6 of them, and only one of the colors I've actually found a use for it. Now, keep in mind, I have had this since 2004. And I'll show you. This is, used it once. Obviously, it's too bright, you know. This is, you know, like for the internet, you don't have good pictures. You got to buy the scenic stuff in person. I've never purchased this, okay? I may find a use for it, but I don't know. It's kind of bright, okay? This is Forest Floor Blend. This one's kind of dark, okay? It's got some brown in there, but it's got some static grass, lots of little crushed foam stuff. This one is all static grass. This is 100% static grass. Sure looks like it. Maybe little bits of foam in it. But this is almost all foam, this one. Haven't found a use for this one either. That's not true. I used it on some swamp. I made some marsh. All right, what other color we got down here? Maybe it was a 4-pack. All right, I gotta move some of this stuff to the side here. That I have to disconnect it now. I'll plug it back in. Let's see what else we got. Like I said, this is not rehearsed. Okay, here's another color that came in the pack. Again, this one is very, very dark and also has some foam stuff. Okay. And then the last one Because here is Alpine Meadow blend. This one's almost all foam, and there's, okay. What's that? That's the fourth one. I guess it was. I guess it was a 5-pack. I guess it was a 5-pack. Because the last one is the one I've used exclusively since 2004, and you can see how much of the container I've actually used, which is most of it. Farm pasture. Okay. This is all static grass, and it's kind of a mid-grade, and this is what I've been using. So I'll probably use some of the other stuff and some of the terrain I use for this army, but this is what I use. Scenic Express, farm pasture. These things are, I don't remember how much they are. Maybe they last forever though. You can see I've done all my basing since 2004 with this, plus some terrain and stuff. So it goes a long way, because container that you're able to reclaim what's left over on the sprinkles. You know, you don't want to just throw away what you don't put on your basing. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting 90% of it. There's still some wastage to it, but yeah, that's what it is. It's this. This is what I use. It's what I've been using. Okay. This farm pasture. Now what I have it in, I needed to show you guys the packaging, because I've poured it in a small little container, tiny little bit of it, and I wanted to show you guys that, you know, that you'll know what material it is. Now there's lots of different materials that will work for this. That one just happened to be the one that I got. I actually bought it when I was doing my 20mm World War II guys, and that's the color I've stuck with. Certainly have plenty of it. We'll plug the foam back in again. All right, and we're going to go ahead and take this opportunity to clear this up a little bit, because this is kind of a messy stage too. It's not super messy, but it does get some, yeah, so we've got more. All right, put that away. All right, now, what I've started using recently, I didn't do this on the first couple of armies, but what I'm doing now is using a little Tufts in combination with them. So I need to see what I have down here in Tuft land. All right, what do we got here? We got Swamp Tufts. These are by Swamp Tuft color. That's the color they call it. What else we got here? I had these all in one place, and then they kind of tipped over. Okay, this is last time I went over to Historicon. There was a vendor that was selling this brand, which I'd never seen before, called Gamer's Grass, and use this as well. Okay, plus I also have this color here, Lowland Shrubs, also by, that's what I used on my Russians. I used a combination of these three and the static grass to give them the look. They are. We're gonna lose this cardboard thing, because underneath that side, I gotta maintain my reputation of not making a mess, you know. You guys won't think much. Okay, I'm just looking for one it's the first one I grabbed. All right, let's move our Tufts over here. We're only doing 4 stands, so. All right, let's get us our little container. We're going to shake this stuff on. We'll be able to reclaim it. One thing that works really well is a container I use to carry. It's one of these, just a little carrying case thing, and that works pretty well. Okay, so what we're going to do is when we do the basing for this, we can catch it and pour it back into this container. Yes, I'm going to get wastage. It'll be like 5% or something like that. So, okay. So we've got, all right, let's move this off to the side. A sip of liquid motivation. We're done with the rocks. All right. Let's start picking stuff out. All right, so in this stand, we did like, let me make sure I've got this color here. Because that one doesn't look like one of them. Yeah, it's the swamp tuft. Okay, so this one had one swamp tuft and one of the other ones. Okay. All right, so I think what I did, it's been so long since I put grass stuff down because my desert army didn't have any at all, is I'm gonna come in with good old, as they call in the UK, PVA. Folks, I've seen people use PVA for all kinds of stuff. I use it for very little. Very little do I actually use PVA for. I don't find it very useful for. I don't like the idea that you can wet something and it gets reactivated or falls apart on you. So I'm not really big friends with it, but it does serve its purpose. And the purpose I use it for is to glue down the grass and tufts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a brush. Again, I don't want to use one that's super good. Just one that's maybe I use for, you know, for just generic painting everything all at once. Okay, so we're going to put some PVA down here, or as they call it in the United States, good old Elmer's glue. Okay, and let me take my glasses off so I can see the logic of that. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put this in different places around the stand where I think it'll look okay. And again, this is just all subjective. So, one thing I use it for is also hiding the barrier between the actual base that the figure comes on and the actual base that the figures are glued on. No matter how careful you are of bringing the paste up onto the stand and everything, you're always going to have a dividing line there. And I want to try to avoid that as much as, you know, and if you don't see it in somebody else's stands, you're doing your job right, because nobody really wants to do that. Now let's see if we can get this where you guys can see. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put some of this here. And these are spots that what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up sprinkling the static grass. At a later stage, we'll come in and glue the tufts also independently, okay? So right now I'm just worried about the static grass. And maybe we'll have, this is where I have my Bob Ross moment. We'll have some happy grass growing around here. Okay. And this is also really easy to do. You go and you put this on here and then you put the grass and you realize, oh, I don't have as much grass as I'd like. Put more down. I'm a little too zoomed in, I think. Come on, zoom me out a little bit. There we go. All right. We're going to have some grass that grew around this little boulder. You see boulder, rock, small boulder. I know. A wee boulder. Oh, look at the wee boulder. You guys are either going to really like our videos that involve these guys, or you're going to hate me for, you know, doing annoying generalized Irish things. So anyways, we're going to have a good time either way. A wee boulder. Okay. And we don't want to go crazy. We don't want to cover. We don't want to do all this dry brushing and then cover all our nice dry brushing that we did with grass. I mean, it just would defeat the purpose altogether. So I'm going to put some more over here. It's okay if some comes on the side of the rocks. That's perfectly fine. Not a problem. Okay. Now I could probably go ahead and do this method on all four stands and then put the grass on there, but I want to make sure that it doesn't dry out. So just to be safe, we're going to move this to the side. All right. Zoom out a little bit more, a little bit more. Come on, a little bit more. Zoom out. There we go. All right. Where is our Mr. Tweezer? Here, it works a lot better with him. All right, and then what we're going to grab is our little tin here. Now, there is some brown things in here, so I want to shake it up so that we get a good consistency, good mixture. We don't want all of one shade and not of another, okay? And then all we're going to do is, remember, we're on this little tray, so it could catch everything, hopefully, is come in here and kind of everywhere, but mostly where the Elmer's is. This is not very scientific. You just kind of throw it on there. And sometimes to reach some of these spots, you got to get in and kind of use your fingers. You don't want to use the tweezer because what could happen is you could scrape up the side of your figure. You don't want that to happen. So we'll just leave them on there for a little bit. Shake off the excess. Try to shake it back into the container. You see not much came out. Tap it. Give them a good blow. Okay, and take a look at it and see if that's how you like it, or maybe you want to add a little bit more. Well, I'm looking at it and I'd like to have a little bit more. So I'm going to come in here and I'd say I'd like to have some. Take some of this. Drop it on there. Use the tweezer, kind of push it down so it'll grab. Okay. We'll leave that alone for a little bit. Okay. He's kind of done. Now we're still going to do tufts on top of that. So that's all you do, folks. That's all you do. So let's just do all three of these and see how that works out. All right. So we're going to have on this stand, we're going to put some around the foot here. Okay. And a little bit of it that grows over here by this rock. And back over here. Some that grows there. And then we got kind of a big empty spot here. Let's go ahead and just say it started growing this way. Okay, so that's this one. All right, let's move on to the next one. Again, this is, I'm doing simple stuff and we're already an hour and a half into it. I mean, it takes some time. Now, I'm probably running a little bit slower, explaining some things, but not that much. It's just, it's time consuming, you know? And you don't have to use these exact products. There are a lot of really similar products. So you might live in Europe and they don't have these particular products. They may not have These just use the equivalent. I mean, there's just like that. I'd never seen that in gamer's grass before, but it would be if that's all I had, it works just fine. It was just a different variation in color that they had than the other ones, so it was kind of nice to have. Okay, actually, I'm not going to do the third one. I think it's too much. The stuff's going to dry out too much. So let's we'll do this last one. We'll do the last one last. That's why he's the last one. He gets done last. Okay. This is actually a pretty forgiving stage. You know, things don't have to be. You don't like how it is, just add some more to it. And if you miss something, remember, you still got Tufts that are going to be able to cover things up as well. So you don't have to try to do it all in one shot. So. Okay. Now, does that look like Ireland? Hell, I know. Could look at pictures, but that's not really that helpful. Close in. I want the stands to have a similar look, because if I have to substitute stands in or out for another from another army or allies or something like that, I don't want them to stand out like a sore thumb. Okay, I want them to kind of fit together. So there's similarity in using the same grass as the tie-in. You know, using all the armies using the same color grass, because they'll look at least close similar in similarity. So. Yeah. Let's push this back. And the final stand. We're still going to reuse this PVA there for the Elmers for gluing the Tufts down, so there's still more to go. Cover this up a little bit. This is the long-winded version, because if you guys want the short version, like I said, there's a basing tutorial that I did on my Russian light cavalry that I did it on, and just with some high speed. I ran under high speed, just showing in each stage how it looks. So it turned out pretty well, I think, to get the point across. But this is more of the long-winded, the yammering version. So. The live version if you're watching it live. So the interesting thing about live is after I'm done recording this video, well, after I'm done doing this live, I basically can just tell the phone, hey, just stop doing it live, and then it'll end up processing and uploading to YouTube. But it really takes an inordinate amount of time. It takes about 12 hours for you guys to actually see the video. So if you miss the live feed, it's going to be like 12 hours before you get to see it again in 720. So I wish I could live painting at this time or whatever, but my schedule is such that we're gonna have to wing it. So, but don't worry, you guys will be able to just watch it the next day. So okay, so yeah, I think that one's good. And this is the basing is by far the most haphazard thing that I do. It's just you just kind of throw it out on controlled. I want this color of tunic next to this guy with this color sheath, that kind of stuff. This is just kind of like, okay, I think some grass over there will look good. Yeah, right. And just kind of go with it. Okay, so here is all 4 stands done, except for the Tufts. Okay. No, so you can compare. I think the Tufts add quite a bit to it, to the look of them. It definitely makes them look, in my opinion, pretty good. So, yeah. So I'm going to move this guy to the side. Let's get us some Tufts. So we've got 4 stands. Now I'm not going to use I'm not going to use a set number of Tufts on each, but I'm going to at least pull out this gamer's grass. At least 4 of these. I'm actually going to make it 5 of these. I'm going to do 5 of these. Okay. We're going to grab of the swamp tuft. We're going to grab 1, 2, 3. We'll grab 4 of them. And the bushes, lowland shrubs, which I actually wish I had these in a brighter color. If I don't like how this turns out, I can always just do that later. I'm going to go 1, 2, let's do 3. Let's not do 1 for each one. Okay. Now, you can actually take these guys, where's my X-Acto knife, and cut them down. They come like all these, they come on almost a little glue backing, but it's not enough to glue them down. It just almost like creates a base that all the tufts are tied into. Okay, so let's move these guys off to the side. So like for instance, if you think this is too big, you could come in here and turn this into 2. Okay, so I'll kind of look at this and go, okay, well, this area is kind of barren here, so what would this look like there on the stand? Like, okay, well, I like that, or I don't like it, or what have you. Okay, but we're going to take one of these big ones. We're going to cut it in half. Okay, so we have some differing sizes. Okay, and all we're going to do is just slice it in half. Okay, now we got 2 of these. Okay. All right. And let's do that again. Let's have 2 of these there. So we can place them in a couple different places on the stand. All right, so we got 4 of these. And if I don't use these all, I can just put them back in the thing. It's just, this is just so I've got a variety of this one in half or so. Okay. And these little guys are small enough that I'm not going to really mess with at first. All right. It's kind of barren. Okay. And I'm thinking a small one like this. Oh, a bright green one here. Let's put it underneath. There's not a whole lot of green on this figure. Well, there's no green on many of the figures, but this one's kind of dark. So I'm thinking of maybe putting something like that up front. Okay, maybe moving this one over a little bit. Okay, and I don't want to be too symmetrical, but we can add another maybe piece of the grass there. All right, and we're gonna call that one a day. All right, so let's go ahead and do that one. All right, so let's come over here, and all we're gonna do is we're gonna do some of this. Just put some of it down. Just come in just press down on it. Okay. Now we're going to take this bush, which is pretty darn. And you can take a scissor to these and modify them, but man, you could spend a long time on this. There's a limit to how much, I'm willing to spend on this. I'm just going to dip him in and come on. Okay, like so. And then we had a bush that was back here. What's this look like? Well, that looks good too. It's kind of a big area. Let's go ahead and put the bush down. I may at a later point find some of these bushes that are a little bit brighter that I like more. I can just pop these guys off and just put them in their place. So, and I am going to go ahead and put one of these little guys here. I think I'm going to put him there. I'm not supposed to get stuck down, damn it. I didn't even put any glue down. There we go. Okay. This is what I was talking about. I didn't want to have to paint the edges of these later because there could be a stray. You're going to lose some of this grass as time goes by, and I don't want one of those stray things to come by and end up being here in the black and paint over it, and you've got it stuck underneath the black paint, but you can still see it. So there is a Saloy stand. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to go to the hobby store. There might be some bushes that are brighter, in which case I'll pull those off, reuse them, and put some different ones down, stay fluid. So, okay, this guy's kind of has the same thing. We're going to we're going to kind of have an idea how I'm wanting to space things out. Let's do another one of those here. And then maybe do one of these flowering type bushes, say here. Okay, and then maybe do another one. Maybe like that around the rocks. Let's move this one here, like it's coming out of the rocks. Say here. We'll leave this area back here empty. That should be fine. Okay, let's hop to it. I could be using a toothpick or something just to mash these guys down, but I've got the tweezer right here, so, works just fine for me. All right. I'm actually going to need more PVA. Does it even say PVA on here? Nope. It's not called PVA, but that's what it is, white glue. So, all right, this little happy guy here. Oh, no, you're going to be lost at sea. Okay. Okay, this little tufty thing is back in there. Ooh. Now, if you do get some on the leg, don't worry. Okay, and then what do we have? We have a little bush up here. Yeah, I can already tell I pulled out more things than I'm going to use, but that's all right, because we'll just put them back. I just don't want to have to stop what I'm doing and go pull more of these little bushes out. Okay. Okay. All right, let's see. Let's plan this one out a little bit. I can see some shrubbery here. All right, let's add one of these back over here. And maybe some more shrubbery there. And maybe leave that one. Okay. This one goes here. Let's move this out a little bit over. Okay. And then this one here, we've got some rocks there. We're going to do this guy about so. We're going to do this guy here. Let's move this one to more central location. And let's do some of these trees over somewhere around that zone to cover that up a little bit. All right, so we're going to come in here. This is very forgiving. You just got to make sure you press it down because you've got like the little rubber, almost like the glue booger that these tufts are all held together by. You want to make sure that that's not like coming up off the bottom or it'll look weird. It'll look like, like it's not supposed to be there. So, but still, this is this is very forgiving, you know. I come back out in the morning and you don't like how it looks, just pull it off. Put something else there. Very, very forgiving. Okay, so there you have it. You have the 4 stands of Saloy. Yeah, are complete. So that is them. See if we have a, put these on a coaster. Put these. Things work better on these videos if I got them on, not trying to hold it so I'm not jumping all over the place. Yeah, so it's pretty basic. It's pretty easy to do, you know. You just have to kind of, you know, just stay with it. Now, unfortunately, this video, I think maxes out at 720p, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because I don't have 2,000 subscribers. You know, a few more, but we're going to keep making these videos because it's better than nothing. And, you know, it'll all even itself out. You know, it's not a bandwidth issue. I've got more bandwidth on this phone that you know what to do with, so. But yeah, I think they turned out pretty well, and as you can see, they're very similar to the Russians that I did on here. Okay, it's another forest army. So I'm going to keep an eye out looking for some greener bushes, because I think that I would like to have these bushes here to be like a more lively green, you know, because it's Ireland. So, but if I don't find them or they're not available, I'm fine with this. You know, it's easy just to pull a couple of them off. So, you know, no big deal. So, yeah. For Irish Saloy, which is strange calling them that. They're not Greek. Okay, so what do we have left? We had 1 tuft left. We will put that tuft right back in with the others, and we'll reuse it later. We will reuse it later. And yeah, there's an infinite number of tough manufacturers and styles that you can get. So I'm going to be on the lookout to see if there's a brighter green one for this. I wouldn't change the way that the grass is done. I mean, I want enough of this ground cover showing that you have some variety on it. But yeah, and now all we're going to do with this is the leftovers. The leftovers here, we're just going to tap this out, and it's not going to be perfect. You know, I'm going to miss a static grass or two, okay? But this is pretty much cleaned off, okay? And then we just gently tap this thing. Let's zoom out. Are we zoomed all the way out? Maybe we are. Yeah. But we're just going to tap this so it just collects down here in the corner. Maybe even use the same thing. And can use a big brush that serves no purpose other than to do something like this. Collect it all the way in the corner and just pour it back in our container and reuse it for next time. And yeah, there's going to be some wastage, but it's a negligible amount. It's really funny when you look at these colors of this grass individually. There's some that are like they're freaking red. I mean, there's like a red strand like stuck in the middle of it all. You can't tell it because it all blends in together, but there are some off the wall colors that are included in there. It all works together to give it a varied look. Okay, so that is that. This can go back to its hiding place. And we'll put the little thing. So how much of this did we use on the 3 stands? An incredibly negligible amount. Okay, so these guys are done. We're gonna have some pictures of them on all the fun groups, as always, to keep everybody motivated moving forward. And then we're gonna pick up where we left off last time on the Saloy. Now, these are the bow Saloy. We've got this guy completely done. Okay, we've got him, well, he's not varnished, but he's finished, okay? And we've been working on this one. We're gonna refresh our beverage, and we'll be right back and pick up that where we left off. And we're back. Okay. Thanks for hanging in there, a couple of you guys. Appreciate it. All right, so let's hit the ground running back where we were. Let's get rid of all these things that we use to crowd our area. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. Let's get a fresh sheet. I said a fresh one, damn it. So we can think clearly. Okay. And the ever familiar wet palette. All right, so yeah, we got to switch to water. I don't want to be up all night. So yeah, that's my extent of using PVA. I don't use it for very much. I don't like the idea that you can paint over it and it reactivates. That's kind of strange for me. I don't want to open up that can of worms. So I don't, you know. But lots of people swear by it. Lots of people have projects they do online with terrain and stuff, and they use it for a lot of things. I just I'm not in love with it or anything. It does what I needed to do. Hey, there's lots of products out there. If you don't like one, use what you're comfortable with. I glue my figures down on the stand with epoxy. Some people are like, oh, I can't believe you use something that strong. Well, use what you want to. Epoxy works for me. So, yeah. Okay, so let's go back to finding our brushes. Okay, so we need this one. That's our good old buddy. That's one of them. And this is another one. And there's the third one. Okay. And I've just got all kinds and more kinds than that. All right, so where were we on this guy? We had done his tunic or his lineup, and we were in the middle of doing his face. His face is halfway done. So um, let's go ahead and do that. Looks like he's got a quiver to do. He has a sword. Of course, he has a bow. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a bowman. And this uppity Irish guy decided to wear shoes. I stole them from his grandmother. Supposedly, these guys did not go around wearing shoes very often. So even mounted characters. So yeah. All right, we're doing the face, so we need to get in with this one. Let's move those completed stands over. All right. So I'm sure that we do not have it alive anymore. We don't, even though we worked on it yesterday. Or I'm sorry, it was the day before yesterday. We need to get good old red leather out. We'll put it right where it used to be. Okay. We need to get sunny skin tone. I think I finally learned how to say it correctly. Sunny skin tone. All right. And we still got black. We still have white. No, black's okay. White, need to have more white. We're not going to need black right now because we've already done the undertones. So let's go ahead and do the white and put it here. All right. Okay. So where are we in the process? We still hadn't gotten to the core color. I think we're just one shy of that. Maybe we started working on it a little bit. We could probably jump into it. So we're going to make our mix here of the leather and the sunny skin tone together. Make sure there's no maintenance issues. No. Okay. We're good. All right. Like I said, I paint with both of my wrists supported on the table. And I also have the little edge of the cutting mat where I like to prop my little coin up against. So it just keeps me from fumbling it and making a stupid mistake. I'm not sure if that would even happen, but that's just habit. That's just how I learned to paint. So we've already painted this guy's eyes and everything. We're just gonna paint a face on him and give him some personality. I actually enjoy painting the faces a lot, so it brings them to life. I know that I struggled painting faces for a little while until I came up with this happy mix I'm happy with. I tried doing washes and stuff. Just didn't get where I liked it. I've been really happy since I kind of did this method probably around 96, 97, 1996, 1997. I've been pretty happy with it. It works good for me, so. And what we're going to do is this is the second. There's 4 of these guys to do. I've got 2 more to paint. We're going to do all 4 of them. and then do the last two stands of the Bowman. And then next, after that, we're going to roll, well, if everything goes according to plan, next we're going to roll into doing the Gallagleich, the blades, the two-handed axemen. We're going to do them next. Because it's going to be a while before the mounted show up, sounds like. But that's okay, we got lots to paint. We got lots to paint. Including one of these. I'm going to do something I've never made before. Make a terrain piece called an edifice. And we're going to do it based on these rocks or dragon eggs. Ooh, this one's got a rune on it. Oh, cool. Well, I don't think I'm going to paint anything that's specifically Irish looking so I can use it for other armies, but this will be an edifice, and I've got to find out how small I can make it because I don't want to make it huge, but I'll put it on a stand that's a little bit bigger. I'm pretty sure it's got to be at least 40 by 40, but I'll have to look. And I think that's treated as a piece of bad going. Again, I'll have to look that up. I don't have an edifice, but that's got that written all over it. I just happen to have it. I collect things here and there. And some of these things I've had for over a decade. And they're just now coming out to play. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I had to buy the mounted. I didn't have them. But other than that, I had already collected the rest of the troops in this army for over the years, with no intention really of building them. I'll end up going to a flea market or something at one of the conventions, and they had all these figures, and I'm like, okay, I'll pick them up. Never know when you're gonna need them. Well, now's the time. So glad I did. All right, let's make these fingers pop a little bit more. Okay, the other guy has a beard and is red haired, so okay. I think we're gonna make this guy blonde. Okay, now we're gonna add a little bit of white to that same color. Okay, and make some of these fingers pop. I don't mind painting the eyes, but painting eyebrows, that's over the line. That's taking things too far. every layer you're putting on top, you should be using a little bit less paint because you're only hitting the highlighted areas. Pretty happy with that. Pretty happy with that. I think we can leave him alone there. All right. Let's go do his bow. And for the bow, I want to use a similar color that this one did. Yeah. I used, let me find it where it is. I believe it's a desert yellow. Vallejo desert yellow. Or tan yellow. Yep, Vallejo tan yellow. And we use that with brown or black? I think we did it with black. Okay. Put some there. And the other two guys have capes. They're actually, the other two are the same figure, so one of them will probably be black haired and one of them will be red haired, just to mix it up a little bit. And they have cloaks, so. Okay, well, we're like 2 hours and 10 minutes in. I think I'm gonna call this one. I'm gonna keep on painting, but you know, need to cut this one off so it can get uploaded and you guys can take a look at it in the morning if you missed it. But anyhow, still working on the Irish, plugging away, but should have some pictures for you guys to check out. So anyhow, thanks for joining me and painting along, or maybe you're doing this a little later, but anyways, good painting to you. All right, we'll catch you guys next time. See ya.